There's a moment when you lock eyes with someone and your whole body reacts in a way you can't explain. Your heart speeds up, your stomach flips, your thoughts scatter and then focus all at once on this one person. It feels like recognition. Not just I find you attractive, but I know you from somewhere deep. Within days, maybe hours, you're texting constantly. The conversation flows like you've known each other for years. They say things that seem to finish your sentences. You feel seen in ways you've never felt before. It's intoxicating, it's magnetic. And underneath the excitement, there's a quiet, strange feeling you can't quite name. Part thrill, part vertigo, part fear. You tell yourself this is it. This is the connection everyone talks about. Soulmate, twin flame, the one. You start rearranging your life to be near them. You ignore small red flags, the hot and cold behavior, the way they pull close and then disappear, the intensity that sometimes feels more like chaos than love. You convince yourself that real love is supposed to feel this consuming, this urgent, this hard. And when it hurts, you think, this pain means it's real. This struggle means it matters. But over time, the magic starts to feel more like a trap. The pattern doesn't stay in one relationship, it starts to shape everything. In romantic relationships, the twin flame dynamic can look like being addicted to someone who is inconsistent. One day they're all in, calling you their soulmate, talking about the future, making you feel like the center of their universe. The next day, they're distant, vague, or even cruel. You're left confused, replaying every word, wondering what you did wrong. On the outside, you might tell friends, it's complicated, but we have this deep connection. On the inside, you're anxious, obsessive, constantly trying to get back to that first high. At work, the same pattern can show up in how you relate to authority or projects. You might become fixated on a boss, mentor, or coworker, feeling like they get you in ways others don't. When they give you attention, you feel alive. When they withdraw, you feel worthless. You overwork, trying to prove something, chasing validation that never quite lands. Or you might idealize a creative project, pouring everything into it, convinced it's your destiny, until it falls apart and you crash. In family dynamics, this energy can resurface as enmeshment. Maybe you're overly focused on one parent or sibling, feeling validation that never quite lands. Or you might idealize a creative project, pouring everything into it, convinced it's your destiny, until it falls apart and you crash. In family dynamics, this energy can resurface as enmeshment. Maybe you're overly focused on one parent or sibling, feeling responsible for their emotions, their choices, their happiness. The relationship swings between closeness and conflict. You feel like you can't live without them, and also like you can't breathe when you're around them. Boundaries feel impossible because the connection is framed as special, meant to be, or no one else would understand. Alone in your inner world, the twin flame story can become a loop of longing and shame. You replay memories, search for signs, convince yourself the universe is bringing you back together. Or you feel guilty for still thinking about them, for not being over it, for wanting someone who hurt you. You might tell yourself, I just need to heal more, raise my vibration, do more inner work, and then they'll come back. The focus stays outward on the other person instead of inward on your own patterns. To understand why this happens, it helps to look at where these patterns often begin. Many people who end up in twin flame dynamics grew up in environments where love was inconsistent, conditional, or chaotic. Maybe a parent was emotionally available one day and cold the next. Maybe affection came with strings attached, praise when you performed, silence when you didn't. Maybe there was intensity but not stability, big emotions, drama, passion, but very little calm, predictable care. A girl learns early that love feels like a roller coaster. When her parent is warm, she feels whole. When they withdraw, she feels abandoned. She starts to associate love with that cycle, closeness, distance, closeness, distance. As an adult, she's drawn to relationships that recreate that pattern. Stable, consistent love can feel boring or not real because her nervous system was wired in chaos. The twin flame story gives her a framework to make sense of why she keeps choosing people who can't stay. A boy grows up feeling like he's never quite enough. Maybe
parents were critical, distant, or distracted. He learns that the way to earn love is to be special, to stand out, to be someone's chosen one. As an adult, he's pulled toward relationships that promise that role. The idea of a twin flame, someone who sees him as destined, irreplaceable, cosmically significant, feels like the validation he's been searching for his whole life. But when the relationship becomes painful, he doesn't leave. He doubles down, believing the struggle is part of the spiritual test. There's also a cultural layer. Twin flame language has become popular in spiritual communities, often romanticizing suffering. You'll hear phrases like, "Twin flames trigger your deepest wounds so you can heal. The pain means you're ascending," or, "If it's not hard, it's not your twin." These ideas can make it very difficult to recognize when a relationship is simply unhealthy. The spiritual framing turns red flags into divine lessons and abuse into soul contracts. Psychologically, what's often happening in these relationships is a mix of trauma bonding, projection, and anxious avoidant attachment. Trauma bonding is when intense emotional highs and lows create a powerful attachment. The unpredictability, will they love me today or hurt me, keeps your nervous system on high alert. Your brain releases dopamine during the good moments, which makes you crave the person even more. It's not love, it's your body trying to resolve an unresolved threat. Projection means you're seeing in the other person qualities, potential, or depth that may not actually be there. You're filling in gaps with your own hopes, your own wounds, your own need for meaning. The twin flame becomes a mirror not of who they are, but of what you're longing for in yourself. And anxious avoidant attachment is a dance where one person chases and the other runs. The chaser feels, if I just love them enough, they'll stay. The runner feels, if I get too close, I'll lose myself. Both are terrified, just in different ways, and both keep the cycle going because it's familiar. In daily life, the consequences of being stuck in a twin flame dynamic can be severe. In romantic relationships, you
might find yourself unable to move on, even after the connection has clearly ended. You check their social media obsessively. You look for signs, angel numbers, songs, dreams that you're meant to reconnect. You turn down healthier relationships because they don't feel as intense. You mistake emotional chaos for passion and mistake calmness for lack of chemistry. You might also notice that you've lost yourself. Your hobbies, friendships, goals, they all became secondary to this one relationship. You stopped trusting your own needs because the twin flame narrative told you that your discomfort was just your ego, your shadow, your resistance to growth. So you stayed longer than you should have, tolerated more than was safe, and blamed yourself for not being spiritually evolved enough to handle it. At work, the obsession with the twin flame can drain your focus. You're distracted, constantly checking your phone, waiting for a message. Your performance suffers. You might also start seeing signs everywhere. Coworkers mention their name. You see their birthday on a receipt. A song plays in the store. Your mind is trying to create meaning, but it's actually just hypervigilance. In family and friendships, people around you might start expressing concern. They say things like, "This doesn't seem healthy," or "You're not yourself anymore." And instead of listening, you pull away. You tell yourself they don't understand the depth of your connection. You isolate because keeping the twin flame story alive requires cutting out voices that challenge it. Inside your own mind, there's often a war. Part of you knows something is wrong. You feel exhausted, confused, sometimes even scared. But another part clings to the story. This is my person. This is my lesson. I'm supposed to go through this. The inner dialogue becomes obsessive. Why did they say that? What does this mean? Are they thinking about me? Did I manifest this? Am I being tested? The cost of staying here is high. You lose time. You lose trust in yourself. You lose the ability to recognize what real, stable love looks like. And in some cases, you stay in situations that are emotionally, financially, or
even physically harmful because you've convinced yourself it's destiny. But here's a perspective shift. The pull you feel towards someone isn't always about them. Sometimes it's about an unfinished story inside you. The intensity you call twin flame energy might actually be your nervous system recognizing an old wound. The person feels familiar not because they're your soulmate, but because they remind you, consciously or unconsciously, of early attachment figures. The drama feels meaningful because it's activating patterns you've been carrying for years. The longing, the obsession, the feeling that you can't live without them, these aren't signs of cosmic connection. They're signs of unmet needs trying to get your attention. The idea isn't to shame yourself for having these experiences. It's to start asking, what is this relationship teaching me about myself? Not about them, about me. What wound is it touching? What need am I trying to meet through this person that I could start meeting in healthier ways? And here's the difficult truth. Sometimes the lesson of a twin flame relationship is that you need to walk away. Not every intense connection is meant to last. Not every person who triggers growth is meant to stay in your life. Sometimes the growth comes from letting go. Now, here are some practical steps to work with this pattern if you recognize it in yourself. First, map the cycle. This helps because twin flame dynamics follow a predictable pattern, but when you're in it, it feels random. Seeing the cycle clearly gives you back some power. How to do it? Over a week or two, write down the emotional highs and lows. When did you feel close? When did you feel abandoned? What triggered the shift? Was it something they did or something you imagined? Mini scene. You realize that every time you pull back, they reach out, and every time you feel secure, they go cold. You're not in a relationship, you're in a loop. Seeing that on paper makes something click. This isn't love. This is a dance neither of us knows how to stop. What's hard? You might resist seeing the pattern because it makes the relationship feel less special, but clarity is more valuable than
fantasy. Second, write what you're really seeking. This practice helps you separate the person from the projection. How to do it? Finish these sentences in a journal. What I feel with this person is, what I've been searching for my whole life is, if I'm honest, I'm using this relationship to avoid. Many scene. You write, what I feel with them is seen, wanted, special. What I've been searching for is proof that I matter. Then you realize, you've been asking one person to do the job of healing your entire childhood. That's not their job, and it's not working. What's hard? This can bring up grief. You might see that the story you told yourself wasn't true. Let yourself mourn that. Third, practice a 30-day no-contact boundary. This helps break the addictive cycle and gives your nervous system space to calm down. How to do it? Block, mute, or delete their number and social media for 30 days. Tell a friend or therapist you're doing this so you have accountability. When you want to reach out, write to yourself instead. Mini scene. On day 3, you're shaking with the urge to text them. You write in your journal instead, I miss the version of them I imagined. I miss feeling chosen. By day 15, the grip starts to loosen. You notice you're sleeping better. Your mind feels quieter. What's hard? Withdrawal is real. You'll feel anxiety, sadness, maybe even physical symptoms. This is your nervous system recalibrating. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Fourth, ground in your body daily. Twin flame obsession lives in the mind. Grounding pulls you back into the present. How to do it? Spend 10 minutes a day doing something physical. Walk, stretch, breathe deeply, feel your feet on the floor. When your mind drifts to them, gently bring it back to sensation. What do I hear? What do I feel? What's here right now? Mini scene. You're walking and your mind goes to them again. Instead of spiraling, you notice the temperature of the air, the sound of birds, the rhythm of your steps. You think, right now, in this moment, I am okay. What's hard? Your mind will resist. It wants to stay in the story. Be patient. Ground again and again. Fifth, reclaim the traits
you projected onto them. Often what you love in your twin flame is actually a disowned part of yourself. How to do it? Make a list of qualities you see in them that feel magnetic, confident, creative, free, mysterious, spiritual, whatever. Then ask, where do I have this quality, even in small amounts? Where have I hidden it? How can I grow it in myself? Mini scene. You realize you called them so free-spirited while you stayed stuck in a job you hate. You saw freedom in them because you weren't giving it to yourself. You start making one small choice toward your own freedom, taking a class, setting a boundary, planning a trip. Slowly, the obsession with them fades as you become more of who you want to be. What's hard? It's easier to worship someone else than to claim your own power, but that's the real work. Sixth, get honest with a safe person. Isolation keeps the twin flame story alive. Speaking it out loud to someone grounded can break the spell. How to do it? Choose one person, a therapist, a trusted friend, who won't romanticize the situation. Tell them the full truth, the highs, the lows, the things you're ashamed of. Ask them to reflect back what they hear without judgment. Mini scene. You say to your therapist, I know it sounds crazy, but I feel like we're connected on a soul level. She asks gently, what would it mean if that wasn't true? You pause. The question cracks something open. You say, it would mean I've been avoiding my real life. What's hard? You might feel embarrassed or defensive. Stay anyway.
honest reflection is medicine. 7th, create a list of what real love looks like to you. Twin flame dynamics thrive in vagueness. Clarity is the antidote. How to do it? Write down 10 qualities of a healthy relationship. Consistency, respect, safety, honesty, reciprocity, space to grow, calm conflict resolution, mutual support, and so on. Then ask, does this relationship actually have these things, or am I hoping it will someday? Mini-scene. You look at your list and realize your twin flame meets maybe 2 of the 10. The rest is hope, fantasy, and trauma response. That clarity stings, but it also sets you free. What's hard? Letting go
Of the story can feel like letting go of yourself, but you're not. You're letting go of a version of love that was never going to nourish you. Over time, if you do this work, things shift. Not all at once, but in small, real ways. You start noticing red flags earlier. You meet someone new and feel that old magnetic pull, but now you pause. You ask yourself, is this attraction, or is this my nervous system recognizing a familiar wound? You give yourself time instead of diving in. You also become less interested in intensity for its own sake. Stable, kind, consistent people start to feel more appealing. At first, they might seem boring compared to the chaos you're used to, but over time, you realize boring is actually peaceful, and peace is what you've been craving under all that drama. Some relationships in your life might shift or end. Friends who were only interested in the twin flame story might fade. Family members who reinforced codependency might push back when you set boundaries. That can be painful, but it also makes space for healthier connections. Inside yourself, you notice more room. Less obsession, less checking your phone every 5 minutes, less interpreting every little thing as a sign. You start thinking about your own life again, your goals, your creativity, your body, your rest. You become interested in yourself, not just in being chosen by someone else. And maybe one day, you look back at that relationship and see it differently. Not as a cosmic destiny you failed, but as a chapter that taught you about your own patterns. You feel gratitude, not for them, but for what you learned by finally walking away. Come back to that first moment, the one where you locked eyes and felt that electric pull. Now you can see it with more clarity. It wasn't magic, it was recognition, but not the kind you thought. It was your system recognizing a familiar emotional landscape, the same one you grew up in, the same one that taught you love is supposed to hurt, love is supposed to be hard, love is supposed to require you to shrink or chase or prove. The dark side of twin flame relationships isn't that they're evil, it's that they keep you stuck in a story
where suffering is romanticized and your real needs stay unmet. The real spiritual work isn't holding on. It's learning to let go with compassion for them and for yourself. You don't need a twin flame. You need to come home to yourself. And that's not a one-time event. It's a practice, a daily choice to stop outsourcing your worth, your healing, and your wholeness to one person who was never meant to carry that weight. Thank you for watching to the end. If this helped you see something more clearly, subscribe for more videos on psychology, relationships, and inner growth. And if you feel comfortable, share in the comments. Have you experienced a twin flame dynamic, and what helped you move through it? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear.